Hey you guys, it's Book of Katherine. This is going to be a lesson on how you can do the footwork that I did. So many of you guys were asking about it, and a lot of the trick comes on how I use the doorknob, and that's using something called leverage. But there's something else that I did which you couldn't see because I'm just coming out of what you would call a wheelchair, but I wasn't even able to do a wheelchair. I was bedridden for a really long time, and all my muscles disintegrated, so they completely atrophied. So I'm coming out of that. So my shoulders and my hips can't do the things that yours can do. So there's a lot of things that I'll be walking you through, and I'll tell you why, so that you can do what I did, but even better. So let's go ahead and get started. This is something new I was just able to do because of something I did yesterday. It was very, very painful. I paid for it, but it's worth it because look what my hips can do. Can't rotate everywhere, but it can do that. It's very exciting. Okay, so number one, the very first thing that you can do is if you put your feet together like this and have someone touch your shoulders and push you, you'll notice you'll fall right back. But if you put your feet, this is called parallel first for those of you guys who aren't trained in ballet. So this is called parallel first. If they push your shoulders right back, you'll tip right over. And this applies to ballroom dancers as well. But if you put your feet in third position and have someone tip your shoulders, my shoulders are going back right now, you'll notice someone can't push you over. So they can knock you to the side, to the right, to the left, and you won't knock over. So that's the reason that we do a turnout, and that's the reason we do so many things in third position. That's why when you see people leap up and down, I can't actually leap, but when you see them actually doing leaps in ballet, they're switching from these thirds, or they're switching from, I can't actually do my hip rotation, but they're switching from fourth. They're always keeping a turnout, so I can't keep that position, but they're always keeping a turnout because it's so stable, right? So, and when you degenerate, your feet start turning in, and so that's how you know I'm having a really bad day and I'm weak, is because my feet turn in, and you can always tell that your muscles are degenerating when your feet start turning in, so be careful to watch for that. So, and as you see me dance, you're going to see my toes are turning in. That's because I'm in a lot of pain and I'm still developing my muscles, and as you see when you see my pictures, I'm always so excited. I'm like, look, my feet are turning out. That means I have hip rotation I'm excited about. So, okay, so you can see my hand on the knob right here. So let's go ahead and see what I was doing. What I'm doing is something called leverage. So I'm going to put my feet in third position here, and I'm going to go ahead and put my hand on the handle right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my center back. You know what? I'm going to see if I can tilt this a little bit for you so that you can see it better. There we go. You can go ahead and see my cat tree and my, yep, that's okay. All right, but there you go. But when I go ahead and do this third position, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my center back. So what people think that I'm doing is they think I'm taking my hip back. But when you do that, if I just took my hip back, do you see how that looks different? So if I just took my hip back and did that, it actually looks kind of bad. And you'll see a lot of bad ballroom dancers do that. They get into it and they go, because they think that's what people are doing. But good ballroom dancers are actually taking their center back and using leverage. And you see that pull of the hand. And that's when they get really powerful and do something from this, because they are using this center. And that's when you get what's something called body flight. Kada! And that's why I can do so much, because I'm taking the center and I'm leveraging it. And I just posted some pictures of ballet dancers who were using, they could take their foot and actually stand with one leg all the way through their partner, and they didn't have to stand on their toe. They could actually rotate all the way through and actually look like they were standing on their foot, but they weren't, all because they had their center placed on the man's arm, and they put all their center into the man's arm, and they had their ankle on the floor, but they didn't have that much weight on the actual ankle because they had all their weight into the center, into his arm, and then they pressed out their leg against his other arm. So all their weight was actually pressed out, balanced. So that's what you saw me doing. All my weight is actually pressed out against the bar, holding up my center so that my legs and my hips have more ability to move. And so that's how I'm able to do that despite having to hold up my legs and hang them up every night. But the fact that they were able to move, that's my PT. The music gets adrenaline pumping, it acts like a painkiller. But what you'll see is that's what I'm doing, is I'm moving my center side to side. Anyway, I'm getting all ahead of it, but I hope you guys are catching that. So let's see if we can get an exercise in. I'm just going like all the way through, but hope hope you guys are catching it and taking notes. Getting excited. So okay, this is the stuff I love teaching, and it's much easier when I have students in front of me because they bring me a problem and I can just be like, here's your problem. And it's usually like they have 80 problems, right? But it's one thing. You fix that one thing and it solves like 35 problems if you have the right eye and if you're trained. And that's what I'm really good at doing, right? That's why I was who I was. All right, so you have this and you use this center. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to take the knob. I want you to put your feet in third position. And I don't want you to pull your hips back. I want you to pull your center out until you get this pull. So let your center come out as far as you can and keep your shoulders as level as you can until you're going to feel this tug in your center. And I want you to tuck in your tummy, and you're going to see this kind of strain in your hand. And you have to do it in this way that you don't break your shoulder line. Okay, because if you do it when you're not practiced yet, you're just gonna disconnect, and you can't disconnect yet. That when you see me do this, I still have connection. I know how to connect this center and do that, but that's that line you see ballroom having when they're like cha. That's because they're still connected and they haven't disconnected. That's a bad connection. They've completely disconnected from their center, right? All right, so those are the differences. All right, so anyway, dancers, so when you get up there and you use your center like this, and you've got your third position, then what you can do is you can take this leg and start swinging it. And then you can start swinging your hips. But the key is to never let that shoulder disconnect. Oh, I'm not having as healthy of a day, so I can't do as much. But that's the key. So when you start seeing me do stuff, what I'm doing is I'm connecting with this. And what this knob fakes is a partner. My partner is also using their center, and I'm connecting with my partner. And so when I'm dancing with a partner and stuff and doing, that's what I've been trying to work up to, is doing things like cha-cha, because that requires a side-to-side rotation of my hips. I've been having to do things that require a back, and it's been very, very difficult. I've had to be very limited in the dances that I can do. I've been doing one dance only, and I just got to do my first cha-cha 2 nights ago or whatever. So it's a really, really big deal. Big deal, because that's a side-to-side, right? But that takes a lot more hip rotation. So anyway, and then I've been doing these dances. I've been doing those, but that was really painful for a long time. And the first time I got on the floor was January, right? Before that, I was just teaching lessons, and teaching dance classes is hard, like big, huge classes, because that requires a lot of movement, right? So it's just private lessons. Anyway, so you take here and just go ahead and try swiveling your foot. Now this bottom foot, the way that it works, if you can see this, is this heel is lifting up. And what I'm doing is I'm pressing through the ball of my foot. So I'm only pressing through this part of my foot right here, and that's called the power point, right there in the ball of your foot. And you use that power point. That's why you see those little dance pads that dancers have in like contemporary dance, and they put on these little dance pads, and it only goes right here. It only covers their power point, because that's all they need. That's all they're doing in contemporary, is pushing off that power point, going forward. It powers them through everything. You guys know I love Mia Michaels, right? Like everything she does, she knows how to have dancers. That's all she ever does, is she demands that they use their power point. And she really knows how to use body flight. So Gene Kelly is like, he has extreme use of his center. You always see when he's standing, his center is always ahead. And then Mia Michaels always does choreography that demands use of that center. So we have, that's why Celine Dion's first show did so well, right? Is because it was all choreography by Mia Michaels, who knew how to choreograph around that center, catch people. When she had people being caught, they were caught by their center. She always choreographed it so that she threw somebody and the man had to catch at the center. She knows how to choreograph. So I always know by the first night of Dancing with the Stars who's going to win and who's going to do. I'm like, da-da-da-da-da, because I can tell how the teacher teaches. If there's a new teacher, I'm just like, da-da-da-da, like someone that I don't know, right? Then I'm like, up. That's what they know how to teach. That's what they don't know how to teach. They didn't correct this. They didn't correct that. They didn't correct this. And I know the things you got to be able to correct if that student's ever going to succeed, right? And you're just like, well, that person, that's out. And the thing is, the audience can see it. They can see what needs to happen, right? They can see what needs to happen. And I'm not getting give that here. Maybe I'll give that another day. So I'm like, I'm not going to do the pros job for them, right? So those are my Hollywood people, just love hearing that. So they get to hear it, so they all know. But anyway, so you go ahead and just do this and then lift up that heel. And just take that around. But notice the positioning of this hip. Notice that I don't take my knee across. I don't use this hip to pull me around. I use this hip to pull me. And this hip, I'm using the center. All the direction comes from the center. I start all movement from the center first. If you watch that footwork video, I use the center. I go center move. Center move. That's why soccer pros hire people when they hire movement coaches. They're all training them on their center first. I'm probably giving so much away, but anyway, that's I'm like ruining everybody's jobs. They're going to be like, you're killing my career. You're taking away all my money. This is why they pay them $1,000 an hour, so or $2,500 or whatever. But this is the point. This is what it's all about. And I've kind of killed myself, but that is something that you can practice. And the reason I'm giving you something so simple is because it looks easy, but it ain't easy. That was something some little people were commenting over on the side or whatever, because I had the feet turned in because I didn't have the hip rotation. Actually, I can't keep this anymore. I'm going to have to rotate my hips in because they hurt so much, right? And I was just like, okay, just wait until they try it, right? Like, I didn't even say anything because, I mean, usually that's what I do is I just let people talk because I'm like, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. And lo and behold, no one could do it. Like, no one could do it. And I was like, but that's the thing. Like, even with turned in, I have the power of my center, and that's how I've gotten better. That's how if you've seen my Freedom Walks #2, I talk about how the power of my center, I actually threw my legs forward and like faked walking for a long time without knowing about it. I had no idea. And the power of your center can do that. And Gene Kelly actually has like this incredible Mikhail Baryshnikov, and then me and Mike are really knows I think, I don't, anyway, so that's just one of those things. So the power of the center, and use that. And so what it looks kind of simple, doesn't it? It looks kind of simple, but then once you try it, narrowing it down to this little 2-inch section isn't all that easy. Like, it's not as easy when I tell you to lift your heel and rotate and rotate and rotate. It ain't all that easy. It's a lot harder than you think. And leading and following and stuff, it's not as easy as you think. But then that's when you get the floating. That's the stuff, like all this stuff is like what our ancestors used to do. Like, America was really big into partner dancing. And if you notice, those are the generations that are alive until 100. That's the secret. It's not just what they eat. It's also the fact that they all dance. They still dance. They did country square dancing. They either did square dancing, or they did tango, or they did all these different dances. And they did, dancing was so much a part of their culture. They did dances at school, dances this, and there was this saying, I remember when I was in Hollywood, they had a saying that if you're not dancing anymore, you know that they're dead. Like, if you stop moving, they died. And when I got really sick, that really stuck with me when I started coming back awake again. And I was just like, oh, I stopped moving. When you atrophy, you pass away really quickly afterwards. And that's what had happened with me. I had atrophied, and I could tell something was really dangerous and wrong. And that's when I really started taking my doctors, like, I started kind of being like, and things really turned around. Like, I really was like, and that's when we started doing procedures. And then my life really turned around, and the PT, and that was as heck, but that's why you see me doing things like this that hurt so much, but have such a big gain. I put on music that's probably too fast for me to handle, and that make me cry at night and make me wake up screaming, and that make me, when I put myself on that bed and I just cry and I scream in pain and trying to get my butt up onto that bolster, I'm like, the other option is being gone. Honestly, that's the other option for me. The other option with my injuries is being gone. And I don't plan on being gone. I plan on living. So that's what it is for me. That's what it is for me. And so I guess the only other thing I'd say is, don't get in car wrecks. Don't get in car accidents. Don't get concussions that lead to this kind of thing, like the things in your brains that cause, shaking and stuff like this. Like, be safe. You know what I mean? And I've been on like road trips, trust me, like I have traveled America, I've done everything like that. It's just, you know, the certain states that I lived in, that's where all my accidents happen. So pay attention to things like that. Like it turned out that I have driven roads in many, many places. It's not about driving, it's about the safety record. I learned that afterwards. It's about, say, I was like, my worst accident was on a road that's always deserted. That's always deserted. It's the safety record of, it was the safety of what happens and how they take care of those roads, like things like that. That's what you want to check into. Like, it was because the people that drive around there knew that they could get away with just, you know, deciding to drive across the road for no reason. Like, they knew nothing would happen. Does that make sense? Those are the kind of safety records that you want to look into if you're an athlete. If you're an athlete and you want to protect your body, if that makes sense, or at least heighten your awareness. I was driving for work. Like, that's the thing, is I drove all the time. And probably, actually, no, I know. I was driving for work 2,200 miles a week for in the most dangerous state to live in for driving records. And I didn't know that. And I think I would have driven differently, at least a lot more alert. I loved driving. And I'm frankly, I think I got lucky. I think I got lucky with how I came out. I think it should have been a lot worse considering how it was 2,200 miles a week, you know? So anyway, with the safety record out there. So, yeah, so just be aware. If you're an athlete, take care of your body and be aware of stuff like that. And that's why, I'm a lot safer in a place that has a lot more lax driving laws. You know, just because of safety records and things like that, like way more lax driving laws, way more lax driving laws. And there was never an accident, ever. I think I've seen one, you know. We were shocked. We were like, there's an accident. You know what I mean? And honestly, all the states we've been to, there's more states around here, but there's just like no accidents. It's how, you know, a state is run. You know what I mean? Like, and those are things we don't think about. We live in a state and we think it's normal. And moving is not really that big of a deal. You can live everywhere. Life is different everywhere. Travel a bit and see, and get out of cities, get out of city centers and see that there are other kinds of cities and stuff like that. And online is everywhere. So anyway, everything's connected by train and stuff like that. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. So much happier here. So at peace and everything. And think about it, like everyone, that's where they retire anyway, isn't it? Everyone goes and gets land and retires. So I'm rambling again. I keep rambling. That's my dance lesson. It's supposed to be a dance lesson. That's how tired I am from pushing it yesterday. I really pushed it yesterday. And so I'm tired and I keep talking to you too much. I apologize. What am I talking about? Cars in the middle of a dance video. Have fun. Bye.